Well, hello there again, boys and girls. It's time for another revision lesson on this our NGSA booster. In this session, we will be focusing on passages where we re-examine rules and guidelines to help us in general to analyze, understand text, and respond to questions that may appear on your language paper 1. Now, please remember that the language paper 1 is divided into different parts. There will be questions testing you on grammar, vocabulary, spelling, and comprehension. Now, for the comprehension section, you will have to read and analyze either a text, a poem, a map. It could be a recipe, it could be a timetable. There's so many stimuluses that you could be given. Remember, comprehension is the ability to read and understand something. When we read passages, we are expected to understand what we read and demonstrate that understanding by answering questions. In order for us to understand as well, we have to read the text not just once, but at least twice or even thrice if we need to. When reading a passage, we must look at the what, why, who, where, how questions, even when. Now, I'm sure that you remember our lesson on those type of questions. What is the text about? Who is in the text or who is the text about? Where is the setting or where is the story or event happening? Where did it take place? What was the problem? How was the problem solved? And why did all of this happen? Now remember, we also look out for those elements such as imagery. And imagery is the use of words to create pictures or images in your mind. It appeals to the five senses such as smell, sight, hearing, taste, and touch. Look at the details about smell, sound, color, taste, those things that create strong images. The use of figures of speech to create vivid image is also involved in imagery. Figurative language. Figures of speech are tools or devices that writers use to create images or paint pictures in your mind. This includes simile, metaphors, alliteration, hyperboles, and onomatopoeias. Those are some of the most common types we find in text that will be presented to you in your examination. Now, to fully understand the text, you have to have good comprehension skill. First of all, you must be a fluent reader to understand what you read. And being a fluent reader will have to do with the pace at which you read, how you say your words, how they connect, so that you could feel that you are reading smoothly. Then we have vocabulary. Now, with vocabulary, to understand what you're reading, you need to understand most of the words in the text. Having a strong vocabulary is a key component of reading comprehension. And I'm sure that you would have remembered that we looked at that in detail. Then we have making connections by reasoning and using background knowledge. Most readers relate what they've read to what they know. So it's important for you to have background or prior knowledge about the world when you read. You also need to be able to read between the lines and pull out meanings even when it's not literally spelled out or you just see it there. You have to think a little deeper sometimes. Sequencing. Now, sequencing is where you put the events of the text in order. So, when you're responding to questions, sequencing can also help you in terms of finding where the information was directly. Drawing conclusion, or we say inferencing. This is where you make your own conclusion on information given. Now, if you are needed to do something like this, the question will say that specifically. But most time, the questions that you are given, the answers are presented in the text that is presented to you. Now let's look at this text and see if we can answer some questions on same. Kaieteur Falls. The Kaieteur Falls was discovered on April 29, 1870 by the famous explorer Charles Barrington Brown. It is situated on the Pataro River, a tributary of the Essequibo River in Guyana. The waters of Kaieteur, one of the natural wonders of the world, flows over a sandstone table and lands into a deep valley, a drop of 741 feet, or 5 times the height of Niagara Falls. Kaieteur takes the form of a huge column of water that flows into a rainbow gully, only to be transformed into a mountain of foam with a billion eyes that fascinate. There is no other waterfalls in the world with the magnitude of the drop existing at Kaieteur. The width of the waterfall varies from 250 feet in the dry season to 400 feet at the peak of the wet season. Amerindian legends of the Patamona tribe has it that Kai, one of the tribe's great old chieftain, after whom Kaieteur is named, committed self-sacrifice by canoeing himself over the falls. He did this so that the Makanaima, the Great Spirit, would save the tribe from being destroyed by the savage Caribbees. Now, what do you think this passage is about? Well, if you read carefully or if you were listening, it says the Kaieteur Falls. All the information there is linked or related to the Kaieteur Falls. So this was very informative. It was giving us a lot of information about Kaieteur Falls. So this text stated facts of the Kaieteur Falls. Now, who discovered the Kaieteur Falls? Was it Kai? It was Charles Barrington Brown. Kaieteur Falls is situated on the which river did it state in the passage? Now, according to the passage, Kaieteur Falls is situated on the Pataro River. The word transformed as used in line 8 means the same as So it says in line 8, transformed into a mountain of foam. So if something transforms into a mountain, something else, it simply means that it changed. Which statement about Kaieteur Falls is true? It is as high as Niagara Falls. Did it say that in the passage? It is transformed into a rainbow, or it is transformed into rainbows. Was that said? It got its name from a great spirit. It is a natural wonder of the world. Now you have to go back again to see exactly what the passage said. And if you read carefully, you would have seen it said, it is a natural wonder of the world. Another word for tributary, as used in line 3, would be Now let's look at line 3, where it says it is situated on the Pataro River, a tributary of the Essequibo River in Guyana. The word tributary there would simply mean branch. So there you have it. It's a very short passage. And this is what you have to remember, that for your paper 1, because the answers are given in multiple choice forms, the passage will not be very, very long. But what saves you also is that you don't have to write it out in complete sentences because the options are already given to you. So you read, you check back with your passage, and then you choose whether your answer is A, B, C, or D. Now remember, comprehension is the ability to understand something that you would have read, something that you would have listened to, something that you would have looked at, and you demonstrate that by answering questions. When we read passages, we are expected to understand what we read. In order to understand what you read, you must try not to read the text just once, or don't study the text or whatever stimulus you're given. Do not study it just once. Try to read and reread. Remember, twice or even thrice. There is no harm. That is why it is important for you also to be fluent readers. Well, boys and girls, I hope that you were paying close attention to this lesson. Now remember, if you are given a comprehension passage, it will be found on your paper 1 with multiple choice options. It is very important that you know and understand what all the questions entail. And for the comprehension, you can only know that by reading your passage and reading it carefully. Remember to read the text at least twice or thrice to get a clear understanding and then answer your questions. Now, as always, I am Ms. Shamshideen, and I'm saying to you, please focus on your revision, take your time, ask questions if you have to, and continue to follow all of our lessons on the NGSA Booster. Until next time, goodbye.